Well, maybe let's just jump straight in. We were talking before about the different roles that women play, the professional role, the mother role, all the other different facets of female life in the 21st century. And I was just wondering if you had any ideas about that, the different roles that we're playing now with coronavirus, but also the challenges that women face today and how they can cope with them.
Who better to speak with about this topic than you? And for whom than the women in the alumni network of our alma mater, ANU? You're right. I think first and foremost, it's to acknowledge that we play so many different roles. Often it's a role where we're either supporting other people, be it people in our family or our friends, or we're supporting our co-workers, or, we're supporting our communities. So that's something to, first of all, really celebrate that women are able to support so many people. My emphasis is that the self often sort of falls at the bottom of that list. It's a cliched saying, but it's an important one, which is that you can't serve from an empty cup. In order to have the energy to be there for your friends, your family, for your workplace, you need some sort of emotional balance and your needs met in terms of your own self-care before you can go and give that to other people.
So what would you recommend from your perspective for self-care? I was watching actually High Fidelity, the new one with Zoe Kravitz recently, and she had a plan to spend her birthday in the bathtub with a bottle of champagne and some Indian takeaway food. And to me, that just looked like such a dream for just, any night of the week, not necessarily on your birthday. So do you have any particular strategies that you recommend for women and self-care?
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think there's this idea, or when we imagine a woman to be taking care of herself, sometimes we imagine like her in bathrobes and wearing white and surrounded by fragrant, like candles and there's like an image, right? Thanks to lifestyle ads. I just want to shatter that. I think it then becomes a chore. It's like, oh, I've got to put on the white things and I've got to find the candles. And, I can't do the thing that I want. I've got to look at the meditation where I'm sitting on the ground pretending to look peaceful. It's different for everybody. A couple of things to note. One thing is creativity. So one way that people can very easily go into that state of self-care is if they're engaging with something creative. It can be art, whatever it is that brings you back to life and gives you that energy. Creativity is a really important thing. So for some people, it could be journaling or writing. So I don't want to place too much emphasis on like, this is the picture of how it must look, but paying attention to the things that are creative. Another aspect is movement. And again, there's this idea like I have to be doing yoga, or I have to be doing like running, and I have to go.
Yes, running. I always feel such a runner, and I hate running. So like, just let it go, Katherine.
Yeah. Who are these people who are running every day at sunrise? So I just want to take the stigma and the perfection out of it. I think there's this illusion of perfection that in order for us to be taking care of ourselves properly, we have to be doing this, this, and that. So something creative, something that helps you connect with your body. It can be dancing. It can be Zoom party dancing.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It can be music for some. You can do that from bed,
Yeah, absolutely.
Really putting on a playlist that makes you feel whatever it is that you need to feel. It's such a wonderful time for you to actually ask yourself. It's like, well, what do I like? What are the ways that I feel energized and the things that make me feel alive and exuberant? And so want to extend that invitation to people to find out what works for them. Cultivate small practices that make it easy for them to take care of themselves.
It's funny how you touched on that idea that self-care almost has become another expectation of women, and that they have to perform it in this particular way with like a full face of makeup on and wearing the cool yoga pants. And that's the last thing that we need. And that also ties into another issue that I think a lot of women grapple with, which is guilt and that kind of sense of, if you're a professional woman, you're a bad mother. And I think you know, if you're taking time off to spend with your children, you should be working on your career. And it's just like, you can't win. And I think probably that's compounded for a lot of people at the moment as well, with feeling like literally having your work and your home and your children potentially all in the same place. Or if you don't have children, maybe it's your partner, or maybe it's your dog that wants to be walked. But you just, I think a lot of women never feel like they're doing well enough. And I wondered whether you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah. I think there are so many insights in just what you said. It's this idea of should, that sort of dance between the things we want and the things that we feel are expected of us. And there's this saying, it's like we should all over ourselves.
Oh, I love that. Like, should is not a helpful word. It's like, you either want to do it or you don't want to do it. You don't have to do anything.
I want to invite this, you know, for anybody watching, look at your to-do list. If you want to have 2 columns, on the one hand is your shoulds, and on the other column you have your wants. Just look at the tally, the ratio of things that you should be doing and the things that you want to be doing. How much of my time am I spending in that space of guilt and expectation versus desire and the things that I actually want to create?
And do you think for a lot of women, the should column would be a lot longer than the wants? Yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, and I feel like it comes from a beautiful place. It's because they care. It's because they want to be loved, and it's because they're generous. So I really think that there's something beautiful behind that guilt. It's just, it takes up so much of your energy that I dare say that list doesn't chip away when we're spending so much time in a state of guilt.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just such an iterative process. As soon as you get something off the list, something comes on anyway. So you just spend your life in constant servitude to these shoulds.
100%. One of the principles of, say, any kind of mentoring or coaching is this idea, like a lot of people will come to fix a problem. And the first point of concession or acknowledgement is that there's a thinking that creates the problem. And so if we look at the thinking, if we actually tell ourselves like, hey, I'm going to give myself permission to do more of the things I want and less of the things I should, you know.
And almost realize that that's an enabler for doing well at the other things, is if you're looking after yourself, you're enabling success in other areas as well.
Absolutely. And if you're giving yourself that reinforcement, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be doing the things I want. The guilt sort of eases. The shoulds also, you'll see the chokeholds that they have on you will ease.
That sounds very, liberating. I love that.
The shoulds are coming from a place of expectation. Whose expectations are they? Yeah. A lot of the times you'll see that these expectations are not yours.
Yeah, and it's almost realizing, I think there's so many expectations put on women that you're just never going to meet them all anyway. So really think about what's important to you. Obviously, there are some shoulds that you really have to do, like children need to be fed, jobs need to be done, like you need to clean your house.
So what you're talking about is exactly that, which is framing the shoulds into wants. And it's like, nobody's making you clean the house. It's like, take that thinking that you should be doing this and framing the shoulds in terms of wants, going back to what these things are giving you. So if it's meeting a deadline, or if it's being prepared for a meeting, if it's calling your family, it's to frame the should in terms of, I want to feel really good at that meeting.
And go in feeling like a boss, not like an imposter or nervous. And there's something so great about, I think, I guess that touches on imposter syndrome a little bit. There's something so great about feeling like I went in and I gave 110%, and even if it didn't work out, I did that for myself. You're serving yourself rather than your boss or anyone else.
Absolutely. If you start to frame some of these shoulds based on the outcome, based on the feeling, based on the result, you'll see that you'll start to get excited about them because they're based on certain things that you want to experience.
That's so cool. It's almost like tricking your brain into thinking about it a different way.
Yeah. We're intelligent, but we're also, that part of us is also a bit simple. So we're driven by pain or pleasure. So at the moment, the shoulds feel painful. But then if you start to frame it as things that you want, or if you focus on what it will give you, how you will feel, then your brain goes, what? This will be pleasurable. This will be fun. Okay.
You like Pavlov's dog yourself into doing that.